Hello, everyone. My name is Blessing Ogechimodiji, and welcome to today's webinar. This webinar is hosted by Secure Intelligence Limited. We are here to have the topic for today's webinar is strategies for identifying and mitigating risks with the AWS Well-Architected Review, and it will be taught by Learn Weber. Next slide, please. A quick housekeeping before we continue. This session is being recorded and will be uploaded on our social media channels. Attendees can only react by raising their hands during presentation. You can also engage with us by using the question and answer chat box, where we'll be able to answer all your questions at the end of the session. Other engagement required from the attendees.
Blessing.
If you have a question, do make sure to use the Q&A or the comment section during the session. So right now, we'll be moving into this session. A little about us. The SEAL teams, we're a solution builder, and we always use technology to drive effectiveness. We are in the era of technology, and everything about us is all technology.
Hi, Blessing. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello, Queen. Please continue. Go ahead.
Hi, sorry about that, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to this insightful webinar by Secure Intelligence. My network seems to be after my life today. Thank you, Blessing, for that. I will continue from here. So we are SEAL teams. We apply technology to drive effectiveness, agility, and growth for business.
Okay. Is this just me or I can't hear anyone again?
Hello. Thank you very much. So sorry for the network interruption. As we were saying, as she was saying, we have a global mindset. We have multi-cloud competence. That's if you search us on Oracle, you see us. If you look for us, we're competent in GCP, we're competent in Microsoft Azure, we're competent in AWS, we're competent in any cloud platforms. Our competency is highly rated, and it's only when you learn with us, you come to us, give us a service to do service business for you, that you will really know how competent we are. We are a fast-growing team, and we've really made great progress from when we started to now. Next slide, please. During the course of this webinar, we'll be talking about the Well-Architected Framework. You get to learn the 6 pillars of Well-Architected Framework, why a well-architected framework is important, because when you have all this, it will enable you to know how to run your services on AWS, on various platforms, on cloud services, the design principle for security in the cloud works, the best practices area for security in the cloud, and then you have the opportunity to ask questions, and you have all your questions answered. Moving on, I will be calling on our speaker for today, a well-seasoned security specialist to take us on this webinar. Hello, Leonard, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here on the call. Thank you very much, Blessing, for the introduction.
All right, over to you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leonard Ikejuba, like she rightly introduced. I'm cybersecurity specialist, professional, whichever one you prefer. Okay, please let's back it a bit. Let's back it up a bit. Please, if you can hear me, drop an emoji, drop a thumbs up. Let's know that we are here. Can you hear me? Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. All right, so we're starting now, and I titled this particular slide AWS Cares, and that's because truly AWS cares, right? So there are a lot of cloud providers out there, and a whole lot of them have different things that distinguish them. But one of the things we know about AWS is their care for their customer, how interested they are in what their customers are doing, and then how their scalability and their progresses in cloud around their product, and that's one of the reasons I titled this slide AWS Case. Right? So designing and deploying applications in the cloud can be very complex. It's a complex exercise, right? So and then there are dozens of cloud providers, each offering dozens of services, and each of those services has a number of configurations. So how are you supposed to architect your system in the way that gives your customers the best experiences that they deserve, or the best possible experience out there, right? So this is where AWS come in and says, okay, we recognize this this struggle, and now this is our response to it. They created a well-architected framework, which we call the AWS Well-Architected Framework, to guide customers on how to deploy faster, reduce cost, and then become more reliable. What this has done is that it has given like a template to run, saying, okay, we want you to use our guide. We have a guide. You don't need to fly blind. It is like flying an airplane. When you're flying an airplane and you have a tower or a control center, letting you know what to do, telling you the altitude and then the weather condition, within you everything you need to know. Your flights become seamless. And once you are not able to reach control tower, the next thing you hear the pilot says that I'm flying blind. Does he have a screen in front of him? Yes, but he needs that guide, to able to carry him through his sail or his flight, and then get to his reach point at time, and then safe, right? So next slide. So that's what the framework does for you. It's like a guide. It's like your tower. Just call it your control tower, helping you to navigate all the storms of the cloud, just as you have it in the cloud up there, right? To deploy and position your product faster and they're more reliable. So the architecture framework is a collection of best practices, for running workloads in AWS cloud platform. Unlike other cloud optimization guides, this particular framework was written by AWS experts, and it is an official part of their training materials, and this is customer enablement. So now what this is saying is that, among other things, everybody else might get someone to write it for them, do what they want, and gets bunch of outsider or third party. But this is written by AWS cloud experts. They came together and said, okay, we've seen the challenges of our users or our customers. Now, how do we effectively give them a guide, a framework, or policy or procedures on how to make use of our platform, and then they have little to no challenges? And then these pillars, like we call them, the framework is built on 6 pillars, and we call them the operational. We call them the 6 pillars, which are operational excellence, security, reliability, performance efficiency, cost optimization, and sustainability. So each of these pillars has its own design principles, has its own way of using them. But today we are going to be, focusing more on the security pillar. Next slide, please. Reasons, because we are, talking about how to audit with security. So we're going to be narrowing our gaze to the security pillar. So why is the well-architected framework, why is it this important? Number one reason is because, like all major cloud providers, right, AWS has shared a responsibility model with its customer. AWS operations team are responsible for maintaining AWS core infrastructure and services, but it's the customer's responsibility to architect their workloads for resilience, right? So For example, let's take this example now. AWS promises 99.5% availability time for Amazon EC2 instances, right? But if you need a greater availability time, you will need to set up a redundant instances. This is where the shared responsibility comes in. Both you and AWS must work together to get a benefit, to get the most benefits from the platform, right? So now AWS says, we've provided you with a platform. It is 99.5% reliable. Now, for you to enjoy that 99.5 reliability time, you need to put in some checks in place, which is the redundant instances, to be able to get that 90.5% chances or reliable time. But if you do not, you're not going to get it. It's not because AWS is incapable, but it's because you're not doing what you need to do. And how do you know what you need to do? Is following this framework. These frameworks are a set of policies, like playbook that help you, that guide you through what to do. Next slide, please. It gives you the policies and what to do. And if you follow them squarely, you're definitely going to have a smooth sail on your cloud deployment and optimization and whatever you want to do in your cloud, in your AWS cloud. So there are some key benefits of adopting this framework. These are for a few of them. I think I mentioned 6 here. Number one, it's risk consistency in evaluating architectures against the best practice. So now what this does is that it gives you a framework. It gives you a framework to use to evaluate whatever you're building. So unlike flying blind or not knowing what to do, if you just hear of AWS, I just want to build that, you don't know there is a framework, you just build it. Deploy, put everything together. It's just like you setting up a Gmail. You don't need a guide to set up a Gmail. You just go to Google, say, I want to set up a Gmail. Just in case you don't even know the Google domain, just go to Gmail or Google, say, I want to set up my Gmail. They will give you their domain by default, and you click on it and you say sign in, and you sign in. It gives you create an account. You want to create an account, or you want to sign into your previous, whatever you want to do, to go ahead. But for you to deploy, if you're doing that, you're just flying blind, right? You could just set that up. If that's your first time, you just set that up without knowing that there is a place where you can set up your two-factor authentication. There's a place where you can do this. There's a way you can set up signature. But if you have a framework which you've used before, it is easy for you to just use that framework to guide yourself, and without stress, you know that as I'm going here, just signature I'm going for. As I'm going to my two-step verification. So there is a framework that guides you. And then there is surfaces improvement opportunities balanced across pillars. So all the improvement opportunities that is available, you see them. For instance, if there is your last knowledge of Google or AWS is at 2004 or 2005 or 2012 respectively, and then you want to build, and then now you want to build another product, or you want to do a deployment in the platform again. If you carry the framework, it's just update your knowledge on there are opportunities now. If you are building on social system, this is what you need to use. You don't need to do trial and error, because there is a guideline that is guiding you to build what you want to build. I hope you understand. Please, if you have any question, you can just raise up your hand and cut me, and then I'll attend to your question, right? Then it provides common language and construct around cloud design. So there are common languages that have been provided. There are constructions that have been given to you around the cloud design. So you don't need to go and start hustling. So this is like everything is embedded. Whatever you're looking for is there, as long as it's AWS concerned. So it allows flexibility in implementation within design principles. So it's not cast on stone, right? It's not built to box you. You can still play with your creativity. Yeah, you can use your creativity whatever you're doing. But just like you're going to an estate, you have to abide by the estate rule plan or floor plan, right? So the estate says, now you are coming to our estate to come and build. It is a must that you are building a 3-bedroom flat, and then it must be a bungalow, or it might be a two-story building, right? You cannot say, because I don't have enough money, I want to build a one-story building, or it's just a 2-bedroom flat I want to build, or I have excess money and then I want to build a skyscraper because I have the money. You must abide by the rule of the estate to build whatever the estate wants you to build. But where the flexibility comes in stays is that now you've built your estate. You now want that inside your house, your sitting room, you want a 75 inches television. You can do that. And then you want your television to be facing the door. And then you want your room painted blue and green, or you want your room painted pink. That's your flexibility. You can do whatever you want, but you must abide by the floor plan principles, following everything that the framework has stated according to the framework. And then it keeps knowledge updated, and as the framework expands. I mean, the cloud improves. Everything evolves. You cannot stay with the knowledge you have 12 years ago or even 1 year ago. If you're banking on last year's knowledge, you will be disappointed at how things have evolved. And then you have to follow up, increase your knowledge, study to follow up with the principle, and that's when you are following up the framework. That's when you know how things are evolving, right? So fosters continuous improvement mindset. Like I mentioned, things are improving. You have to have an improvement mindset to be able to improve with what is improving, because the framework will definitely give you that, right? Next slide. The framework would have helped you to have a mindset that knows that these things are growing, and then I have to go with it. And then at the end of the day, you find out that everything is actually improving, and then your mindset has been renewed. So like I mentioned, we are focusing on the security, and then so like each pillar is an entry point to an entire manual's worth of training material, step-by-step action items, and compliance checklist. Each pillar covers operational best practices as well as anti-patterns to avoid. There are 6 pillars, but for the sake of this training, we'll be focusing on just the security pillar. So all the pillars, gives checklists, a compliance checklist to each of the framework you're working on. For instance, if you're an auditor and you're going to a space to audit, there are checklists you have to go with. Do they apply to this? Did they abide with this? Did they do this? Did they do that? What that does is that anyone they are not in compliance will become a non-conformity, and they could be sued for it. They could be billed or fined for it, rather. Fine is the right word, not sued. They could be fined for it for non-compliance, right? And if at the end of the day there is an attack on their critical infrastructure or their platform, there's a data breach, forensic or whoever is coming for the investigation will have to go through investigate the issues or the attack and make sure that they are in compliance. If they are not in compliance, they have to pay a fine because they were attacked, right? So all these things have to be followed duly to make sure that you are building correctly, you're building rightly. You cannot build anyhow, right? So next slide. Security. The security pillar focuses on protecting information security systems, right? A strong security posture requires having protections at multiple levels, from the physical facilities to the network facilities to the identity management, and then to application controls. So what this is saying is, for instance, security basically has 3 angles, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. It's called the CIA triad. Now, what the CIA triad does is that for confidentiality, while we are on this call, somebody that is not supposed to be on this call didn't register for this meeting, just jump on this call and start unmuting my mic or muting my mic or mute their mic and start shouting, start constituting nuisance. That person is breaching confidentiality. That person is not supposed to be here. If this is a confidential meeting, if it's not, I mean, we would have just shared the link on Twitter, or would have just done an Instagram live so that anybody can just join, or a Twitter space. But this is a closed space meeting, so anybody that's coming here needs to be approved, need to be given the access to join this call. But so if anybody does not granted access, join this call, that's a breach of confidentiality, right? Or I'm sending message to Blessing and I said, okay, hi Blessing, good morning. Please, this call is taking too long. Can we cut it short? And then as I sent the message, and then the message get to Blessing, and Blessing is saying that message is saying that this meeting is too short. I will make it 4 hours. That's integrity has been tampered with. Now she doesn't know what the original message is. She got an untreated message, and she could act on the untreated message. And I'm surprised that how did you do that? That's they spoofed our network and they're able to treat some things, and that's breach of integrity. Integrity has been tampered with, so the message doesn't have integrity in essence. And then availability. For instance, you're joining this call, you received the email a few weeks ago, and today you want to join the call. You clicked on the link and they said this meeting is not available at the moment, or something like that. For instance, if you want to watch a video on Twitter and they just tell you that unfortunately this video is not available in your location or your geographical something, right? That's breach of availability. It's not available. Availability has been tampered with, so that is the CIA. So if any of these things are not taken care of properly, they could hinder any part of the CIA trade. And once any part of that is hindered, security has been tampered with. So the network, the physical facilities, the application, identity management, everything needs to be protected at all costs, right? Next slide, please. So there are design principles for each of the pillars. For the design principle for security, we narrowed it down to 7 principles, and each of the principles speaks keenly to how security should be maintained to be able to foster a very beautiful framework. Now, number 1 is implement a strong identity foundation. This is saying that the foundation of security is establishing strong identity and access management. This will include, number 1, ensuring least privilege access. Now, least privilege is we have a security person, we have the CEO. I'm using CEO for instance now. We have the CEO, we have the CTO, we have the COO, we have a janitor, we have the kitchenette persons who are maybe in charge of the kitchen and the rest of that. All these people or all these persons do not possess the same level of access at the company. Yes or yes? Yes. So now they also do not need to have the same level of privileges. For instance, if the CEO has the privilege to read, write, use his cards to open the door and open his office, the kitchenette person, the caterer, doesn't have access to the CEO's access card. You get what I'm saying? If there is a privileged elevator that can take anybody to just the CEO's floor, the security personnel or the cashier doesn't have access to that. The security maybe because maybe he is securing the floor, but everybody needs to be given access based on their level. That's just the meaning of the least privilege. Let access be given to people at their level. So let's use the concept of Google Docs, for instance. If I'm sharing a folder with everybody in this class now, and I don't want everybody to have access to it, I want the organizers of this events to have access to editing the information, and I have everybody that joined this call to just have access to viewing the content. They don't have to edit or do anything. Then I want some selected person. Maybe we now picked a class captain at random, and the class captain is part of the class, but we now say, okay, you are the class captain. He's just joined. He's not the member of the SEAL team, not the member of the organizing team. So now this person now have the access to edit. He's not a comment, rather. He's not an editor. He can just edit and then read. Then as a class member who is just attending this workshop, you can just view. You cannot comment, you cannot edit. So what that does is that it has broken privileges down. Everybody with their own level of privileges, and everything just goes on smoothly. And what it does is that nobody can just go ahead and delete something or alter something without approval, explicit approval, because you don't even have the access in the first place. So now that takes us to separation of duties. So now, because you now have access, duties are not now separated in different forms. So I can be the one to approve. I can raise a request, rather, I cannot approve. The next person can approve, the next person can, so duties are separated like that. So that when there is a mistake from maybe raising of information, the person will not just raise and approve without second guessing or second checking. But when this person raises and I'm coming to approve, I will have to fact check. I have to second check or second guess to be able to approve. And so when I approve, it means that has gone through 2 steps vetting. So, but if it just goes through one person, that means that one person can just approve and everything just goes. Everything will just go bad. Then password policy would be that. So the standard policy or the standard rule for passwords is that the password must be 8 to 16 characters, right? So using alphanumeric and then special characters and upper and lower cases, right? So all these things must be embedded in whatever we are doing. The multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication says that you must use what you know, what you have, and what you are. So that's multi-factor authentication. So I know my password. I know my password. I have a phone that when I put my password, that a code will be sent to my phone that I could use to authenticate that. Or it's my eye scanner that I have again that I could say, okay, this is my eye. After I have my password, I now use my eye to scan, or use my voice authenticator to say, I am Leonardo John BKG, but I put my eye rather to scan a retina scan to be able to grant me access. So these are multiple ways to assess and authenticate who you are, not just banking on just one form of authentication, which is just password and username. That it's easily compromised. Next slide, please. Now, one of the things this does is that it gives you access to be flexible. These are the pillars, right? These are the design principles, but you can be flexible. Like I used the analogy of the estate and the floor plan and the interior decoration. These two, you could say that they've given you, it's a must that you follow this principle, least privileges, segregation of duty, password policies, or multi-factor authentication. You cannot choose that our password policies is going to be just 12 characters, not 8, not 16. You can choose that it's 16, not 8, not 12. And then you could say multi-factor authentication will be Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator, or it's going to be a code. That is dependent on you. But the whole essence is that you have an authenticator, and that's what the design, the pillars are about, and then the design principles are flexible, right? So enable traceability. Enabling traceability through logging and monitoring is also very crucial. Activity logging across services and resources allow teams to trace action and check back and changes, changes back rather to identify specific identities and the rest of that. So if SEAL, that's Security Intelligence Limited, is in a physical environment, and I'm going to visit, I want to go and see Blessings, for instance, and maybe it's for official duty. I get to the gate and they say, "Hi, Leonard. Oh, hi, who are you looking for?" I say, "I'm looking for Blessing." They serve me a paper, maybe a note, and then say your name, your phone number, your home address, who you are here to see, what floor is the person, what are you here to see the person for, right? So these things help us to, whenever there is an issue, for instance, in 2 years' time, we now notice that there was a breach or there was something that happened on the 28th of May 2024. We can go back to the log activities and say, within this time frame that this issue happened, who was the people that we had as visitors? We can now use that log to trace back, and then you do everything the same way it is in the cloud. When anybody comes in, there is a digital footprint that has been registered. Those signatures are registered so that when there is an issue, we could go back to our logs to check traces and say, okay, this person came to check these things at this particular time. This person logged on as this this person. We don't have his credential, lagbaja at something.com. We don't have this person as on our credential. Who is this person? We can now follow that process to now confirm who this person is, right? Next slide, please. So it helps us to prevent or detect security events, and to follow up with security events. Keep people away from data. Keep people away from data. This is a very important part of security and design principle rather. Make sure that all your data are encrypted end to end, both data in transit and data at rest. They are encrypted because people are the weakest link. If people have access to data, it is easy to get compromised. So it is very important to mitigate this risk by encrypting all data. Encrypt all your data from transit down to data at rest. Make sure that all data, you have an encrypting methodology to put this in place. Next, please. Next slide. So prepare for security events. No matter how proactive you are in putting all these controls in place, there are still going to be events because these attackers they are smart. They are smart. Attackers are not proactive. They are not preventive, rather they are proactive. So they act ahead of what you're going to. So we security experts, we are proactive. I mean, we don't prepare for what we don't see, right? So we can only imagine what an attacker will want to do, but an attacker is imagining what he wants to do. So we are not imagining what an attacker will not want to do. So the best way to do it is sometimes we are asked to think like an attacker, and that's one of the ways most times to act proactively. You think like an attacker, you know, say, okay, what is this attacker going to do next? If I'm an attacker, like if I'm a criminal, what can I do? You get, so that's the only way to now put a proactive measures to wait for them ahead of them. But most times it's still even challenging. So, well, with all these things we've said, with all these measures you're going to put in place, an incident will still occur. You will still record events, like it's a must. Like you will still record security events. So, what do we do then? We put an incident response in place to say, okay, we have an incident response team. We have tools that are checking third parties activities and services. We have those that are checking our automated security. We have those that are in charge of the legal part. We have communications. If anything happens, those that are going to face the media, because you can't expect me, security personnel, not to go and face the media. Well, I'm trying to ascertain what was the cause of the breach in the first place. We have those that are going to face the stakeholders. We have those that are going to, so every duties are broken down in respective manners, and contacts are put in them. We have the contact of maybe the FBI, the police, the NDA, EFCC, and the rest up in case it's a financial activity. We have their their information put in place. So wherever there is an incident or an issue, just reach out. Hey, guys, we have this issue at our company. This is what happened. This is what happened. This is what we think is happening. And everybody comes together. So there is an incident response plan. If this plan is not there, you do not know what to do next. Everybody is confused. So this plan goes as much as having recovery plan in place. So once it happened, how do we recover? What systems do we quarantine? What systems do we take out of the network? What system do we bring online? What are our backup plans? Where do we put our backups? Where are our local backups so that we go and harvest our local backup and bring them on? For instance, if it's the case of ransomware, you will not have to pay for ransomware, because if you pay for the ransomware, they're still going to come back to ask for more. It's just like, catching someone, kidnapping someone, and they are asking for ransom. They see that you have money, request for more because they feel like where this is coming from, there are more there. So once they ask for a ransom, because you know that you have a credible backup, you can call their bluff and bring on your backup online, and then business continues, right? And then you isolate all the services that have been, that's been infected. Next slide, please. So it's very important to have an incident response plan in place because it will help you to prepare for events. Whatever happens, you're ready. So then automate security best practices. So you have to automate softwares, security best practices. You have automated softwares in place that helps to improve your ability to securely scale. So you have maybe automated intrusion detection system that help you detect and prevent attacks and the rest of that. Next slide. Yes, so this is a very key part that I like to speak about. This very important. Data protection is a key thing. Like if we protect data, a lot of these guys that are carrying out deepfake and the rest of them will find it very difficult to access data because most data are not protected. They can just go to open webs and then gather data as much and use to train their AIs to do whatever they want them to do. So you have to both at rest and in transit, classify your data into sensitivity level, and use mechanisms such as encryption, tokenization, and access control where appropriate. For instance, if we for our social media plan in SEAL now shouldn't be something that is too guarded. I mean, it's just social media plan. Anybody can do it, right? Just social media plan or even social media content that we are posting tomorrow shouldn't be much of a sensitive data. But our trade secret is a very key data that should be gathered with our life. That particular secret should not be accessible to all the members of the employee. Very few people in the core management should have access to that particular data sheet. Then the employee payroll is not supposed to be random. It's not supposed to be a general document. Only people in the core management and the HR department needs to have access to that data. Then maybe social media posts, I mean, for the general public, anybody can have access to that, right? So you have to, you put data at sensitivity level. How sensitive is this data? If this data hits the public today, what impact will it have on our company? So now, one of the things, again, you need to do is you classify data at their sensitivity. If we lose this data today, if this data gets leaked or get tampered with, what can it hamper business activity? Can it hamper productivity? Can it reduce what we are doing? All these questions need to be asked, and that the level of controls and encryption you give to those data and the rest of that. Next slide, please. Next slide. So now those are the 6 design principles that you could use to actively and proactively design whatever you're designing on cloud when it comes to security, right? Those are the 6 design principles. Now, there are best practices as well. You've used your design principles, but you have to use these best practices to guide what you're doing. These are what you use to now say, okay, now I'm building this thing. These are the principles I'm using. These are the best practices. These are the areas of focus. These are what I'm tying it to. Number 1 is security. This encompasses overreaching best practices to ensure that protection of data, system, and assets in cloud are key. Now, everything we are doing, both cost optimization, all those other pillars, they are encapsulated into security, because without security, you will not even have strength to do sorry, give me 1 minute. Sorry for the break. Without security, you will not be able to have a space to even perform your optimization, cost, this and that, and sustainability. Security is the backbone of everything, even in cloud. Security is your backbone. So now it is very important to implement security for data, for professional data, systems, and assets. Every of the assets you have in cloud. This is very important. Then number 2 is identity and assets management. Like I mentioned when I was talking about identity the other time, it is very important to ensure that only authorized and authenticated users and components have access to resources. We can't just let anything fly. For instance, if we're testing identity and asset management for web application testing now, we load it with some queries, some database query to tweak the data, SQL query rather, to tweak the database to think that as a user you're an admin. And if that particular input is not doesn't have restriction for SQL, immediately you tweak it, it will respond, and you see that from a user you have an admin privilege. You can tweak anything you want. Imagine having an admin privilege to AWS platform. I mean, I'm not even talking as a customer. I mean the main AWS platform. You can remove thousands of users, right? So that's why it is very important to know that, okay, you're an admin, you are this. So when building, you build that in mind. Disabling SQL response, that it cannot accept anything code. It can only accept @ and dot as an SQL query, and then apart from that, slash and all those that it will not be accepted, because it can tweak, tweak the SQL sense to believe that okay, this is a super active admin calling my for my request, right? Yeah. So detection. This involves implementing detective controls to identify potential security threats or incidents. So this, you could use IDPs and IDS, intentional detection, protection, and prevention rather, and intrusion prevention system, IDS and IPS. So this will identify and detect. Some identify and prevent. So depending on what you want to do, it's very important to put these measures in place so you can identify and you're able to prevent and detect whatever is going on in your security. Potential threat in essence. Next, please. Slide. Yeah, infrastructure protection. This is key. Once an attacker has access to your infrastructure, the rest is history. That's like saying that you live in a glass house and somebody has taken hostage of your house, and you're inside, or you're outside, you want to go inside, you're inside, you want to come outside. I mean, you cannot. Gunmen heavily armed are in front of your house. You cannot go inside, you cannot come outside, right? So that's the same way it is with your infrastructure. You have to protect your infrastructure. Focus on methodologies to secure the network and computing resources from internal to external threats, like I just mentioned now. Whether you are inside or outside, make sure that you take care of everything. So internal threats are like employees, grudging employees. Make sure that when employees are leaving, you revoke all access, all access, no access to your internal activities. Not that somebody is out of a system. I carried out an audit one time, and I found out that somebody that has resigned 2 months ago was still on their Slack channel and still had access to some of their database. I was shocked. Like, how? So we now have to remove this people. Make sure that whenever someone is out of your company, today is their last day. I just deprovisioned someone today in my organization. The person's end date is today, 6 p.m. I've started deprovisioning the person. I've started removing the person from our core resources, core infrastructure rather, one by one, taking him out little by little. By the end of the day, I'm done with my tasks. And to be able to follow these things squarely, there has to be a checklist. Put checklist. Okay, this person is on Slack, I move this. This person is on Google Cloud, I move in Google Cloud. This person is on this, I move on this. So you don't forget anything, because most times you might be fatigued. You might be thinking that you are removing the person, somebody just call your attention. Hi, Leonard, come and me provision this thing for this person. And you just go, you forgot it, right? It's a sincere and honest mistake, but you need to checkmate yourself so that your honest mistake doesn't cost your company a fortune or deface them in the face of their customers and cause them serious fine and financial loss, right? The external threats too could be hackers, government agencies, government actors, bad actors, natural disasters, dollar. If dollar rise so much, there's a point dollar can get, and we might not be able to maintain our cloud deployment and our cloud infrastructure again, because the way the thing is going up, that too could be a factor that could affect, whatever we are doing. So you have to protect your infrastructure very well. That's very important. So data protection, this involves classifying and encrypting of data, like I mentioned in the previous slide. This is very important. Classify your data, make sure that data are in as priority orders, which is more sensitive, which is not very sensitive. You cannot give the same access to the data that is backing your company trade secret with just a social media post. Social media post is going out regardless. You still post it. Even your plan, even your social media plan, you still post everything. If we might not know the plan from January, but at the end of December, we will definitely know the plan, because when we follow in retrospect what you've been posting, we see it's not me. So it is very important to note that data doesn't have the same level of access. So they should be classified according to importance, right? So yeah, incident response. This is key, guys. This is key in everything you do. Make sure that there is an incident response and a recovery plan in place, so that when anything happens, you are not at the mercy of any attacker. When an attacker is saying that, oh, hello guys, we have encrypted all your files, we've infected your system with virus, and this and this and that and that, until you pay us $500,000 worth of BTC, we're not going to release your data and the rest of that. You just laugh, just smile and say, okay, no problem. Hello, IT guys, please can you roll out a recovery plan? And then they roll out recovery plan to checking the incident response plan. When was our last backup? Our last backup of 48 hours ago or 24 hours, depending on and this is the flexibility in it. You can say that your backup time could be every 48 hours or every 24 hours. And just go back to your backup and say, backup, where is it? 24 hours. Oh yeah, prior to when the attack starts, copy all data from your backup. And your backup has to be offline, actually. You can't have your backup on the same network that we are talking about, because if they have access to your system, that means the backup is gone. So you just go carry on your backup, and dump it on your system. Remove the corrupted system, remove it from line, deactivate it, or quarantine it, whatever you want to do, and then resume business. So you are hacked, but business continues. Now, all you have to do now is worry about the affected system and how to come back. And then if there's anything that has been taken over, how to respond to authorization authorities and regulation bodies. Not that you're thinking on how to pay fine and then you are still here again. You're thinking of how to continue business, or business is hindered. So you are losing money as business is hindered. You're also losing money that you're using to that you used to pay fine. So you have to make sure that there's a backup. So whenever there's an issue, you just switch to backup while you resolve this issue. And once that issue is resolved, you can now go back to business, and then there's business continuity. Yeah, thank you. Next slide. I hope it's making sense, and then we are following. Please, if you're getting what I'm saying, can you give me a thumb up if it's making sense, please? Okay. Thank you. All right, thank you. And normally in my class, I used to say check, and my guys respond check, but I don't know how this is built, so I try to. We have to control the noise, right? And then this is going live on YouTube, so we have to control the noise as well. So yeah, that's why it's like this. So in conclusion, the well-architected framework, it's not just some set of guidelines. No. It's a strategic tool that empowers us to transform our cloud infrastructure into a fortress of innovation and security by adhering to these principles and best practices. So by adhering to these principles and best practices, organizations' security posture can be prevented from financial loss and complying to regulatory obligations and maintaining integrity and confidentiality of their data. Once you're able to follow this framework, like it said, you can read up on it. I'll share. I was supposed to add some of the links where I got my resources from for you to follow and then read some of the things. But just go to AWS platform and says security pillar on the AWS Well-Architected Framework, and you see everything we talked about today. You see them there. It is very important to follow these principles, design principles, best practices, and the framework in total, which is the pillar, to build whenever you're building. Even your normal security, right? It is very important. Once you are able to put this check in place, it's not, you are not unhackable, right? Because no security is 100, but at least it has given you the confidence to say that even if anything happens tomorrow, you could stand firm and say, we did everything we could, but it happens regardless. But if you did not, I mean, you cannot, right? You cannot come out with your heads high and then come and say that we did this, we did that. But I tell you that if you put this in place, the chances of you being hacked is like 5 to 2%, because you've met almost 95% of the security requirements to be a fortified entity, right? So check all these principles and make sure that you follow the best practices and do everything you can. So AWS shared responsibility model further enables organizations to focus on using services to achieve their security and compliance goal, leveraging AWS robust security infrastructure. This is very important. Then I implore us to do more research. Look out for documents that speak more to this theme, and then fortify yourself more. Thank you very much. Like I said in the beginning, my name is Leonardo Jodibi, and this is the end of our class. I'm open to questions if there are any. I'll take them now. Thank you. Hi, Blessing. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so questions.
Yes, there are questions. Yes, there are questions. We have questions. It's time for questions. Thank you very much, Leonard, for that. It was a very wonderful session. I learned a lot, and believe me, now I can help to set up a well-architected framework for any organization just by attending this session. So it would be great if you have any questions. Do well to put it in the Q&A. Use the Q&A chat box, and we'll read the question. He will answer you. All right. While we're waiting for questions to come, thank you once again. This webinar session is brought to you by Secure Intelligence Limited. At Secure Intelligence Limited, we also have the Secure Intelligence Limited Academy, which is called SEAL Academy, where we offer trainings and we train people in various fields, in the field of cloud engineering, data engineering, product management, front engineering. Now we have a cohort that is currently ongoing, and the registration for the next cohort is ongoing. Also, if you check the Q&A section, you would see a link where you can book, schedule a consultation meeting with a sales development representative to learn more about how we can help you set up a well-architected framework. We can help you set it up to help you save your costs, to help you optimize the system, to ensure that you are running the best that you can while using the AWS services, and you are best protected at all. You're ready that when anyone comes to break into your system, the person is caught off guard at each and every time. So do well to check, first of all, check SEAL Academy to check for the trainings we have. We have both paid training and free training. Then also do well to register for next week's webinar. We have webinars every Tuesday, very interesting sessions. You will learn a lot, trust me. Next, we have an open day too coming up this June, where we want to talk about a lot of things. Do well to be on the lookout for that so that you can register and attend. An open day is not going to be us speaking to you. We want you to speak to us. We want to share a lot about the career path you can go through. If you have any questions, if you need guide, if you need any of the questions that you've been having about your career path or your growth in the tech part or in the cloud path, you come that day on that open day, how you can make the most. And who knows, there are going to be lots of freebies, discounts, prizes, so many things that are going to be available on that day. Do also invite your friends, your family, those in your network, those you talk to and those you don't talk to. And we are still waiting for questions from you. So we have, all right, yes, the recording will be, this session will be on our YouTube channel. do well to search for Secure Intelligence Limited on YouTube, and you will get the recording of this session and all the other sessions we've had. Thank you for joining, Ijoma. All right, since we don't have
Hello,
much
everyone.
question.
If you can hear me, please indicate by putting an emoji in the background. Hi, Leonard. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I apologize for my network. Hope we have questions. Have any questions been taken?
Not yet. That's what Blessing was doing actually. So, but no question yet.
Okay. Please note that if you want to speak to a sales development representative, a calendar link has been posted in the question and answer section. So just in case you need you need to schedule a consultation about the security posture of the well-architected review, you can click on that link. It will take you to a calendar where you can book a meeting and speak to a sales development representative. Also note that everything that Leonard has spoken about is really, really important when dealing with your security posture, and you have to take note of it. And just in case you want to know how to contain your security issues, but you don't know how to, you can also reach out to us, as we are AWS Well-Architected Partners, and we can do that for you. SEAL is also a support organization. We provide 24/7 uninterrupted support for your businesses. We also help with comprehensive IT help desk solutions, and we ensure that there is availability in your service, robust monitoring, and problem management. So you see, we are very, very serious about security. And you heard what Leonard said, 80% of security issues are being caused by human beings. Not anything that is coming out from the air are being caused by human beings. So if you can contain the situations with human beings, then you would have a working security posture. Next slide, please. Please, I would encourage you to ask questions before this webinar ends, so that you don't go without having your questions asked, or any questions you have in your mind answered. So before we close this webinar, I would like you to ask your questions. Please ask your questions. We are patiently waiting for your questions. So there's a question here. Somebody says, which AWS Well-Architected Framework best practice helps to reduce the security risk of unauthorized access to AWS resources by implementing a centralized identity and access management system? Leonard, can you hear that?
Yeah. So where's the question? Is it written now? Please read it.
Okay, so which AWS Well-Architected Framework best practice helps to reduce the security risk of unauthorized access to AWS resources by implementing a centralized identity and access management systems?
So definitely the security framework, but the best practice will be around identity management and definitely, yeah, identity management, which is where you manage who has access to logging in and then verifying their identity and the rest of that. Then authentication and authorization. Those are the two best practices for that. Yeah.
Okay, that is great.
Mitigation and
Please keep your
optimization.
questions. Please keep your questions coming in. Yes, we can. For the person asking if we are going to share the recording for the for this webinar session, you can go to our YouTube channel in a few days. Our YouTube channel is we are at @seal_teams on YouTube, and you can check that channel and you will find a recording of this session and you can walk through it for no charge at all. Because I can see you asking if there's a charge for it. No, there's no charge. You can go to our YouTube channel and you can find a recording of this session. Thank you very much for joining us today. Connect with us on all.
Yes. No. Okay.
Connect with us on all our social media platforms. At Instagram, we are @seal_teams. At LinkedIn, we are Secure Intelligence. At Twitter or X, we're at @seal_teams. On Facebook, we're at @seal teams. And like I said before, if you need a recording of this session, you can find us on YouTube at @seal_teams. Thank you, Leonard, for that wonderful and insightful presentation. Thank you for everyone who joined. We're really happy to have you every time, and thank you for help attending our webinars from time to time. See you next week, Tuesday, for another insightful webinar. Have a wonderful day ahead. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.